and welcome to Sequel Pitch, episode 16, where four film enthusiast friends review movies that don't have sequels and see who can come up with the best idea for one. My name's Drew Toynbee. It is my great pleasure to be back hosting this week. Joining me today once again to review the movie and pitch me their ideas are my three incredibly powerful magical objects supposedly created by death itself and gifted to three brothers in the Peveril family. The Elder Wand of the group, so named because of his powerful pitches that can be easily snapped in half because they have no third act, Matt Rushton.
Expelliarmus! That bullshit.
The Resurrection Stone, who keeps bringing Invasion of the Body Snatchers back to life over and over again in his pitches, Andy Henry.
Oh shit, have I got time to change my pitch?
Hello,
everyone!
And the invisibility cloak of the group, who at first glance seems to be just not there and pointless, but is actually pretty useful to have around, Ross Armston.
You damn right I am, and I'm gonna swallow some children in my cloak of invisibility.
Oh, no.
There's a lawsuit.
Oh, dear. So, this week we hopped on our Nimbus 2000s, or Firebolts, depending on how far into the series you are, and have flown over to the fantasy world of 1990s England, watching 2011's Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, directed by David Yates, who also directed the previous three films in the series, and of course starring Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, Rupert Grint, and pretty much every other British character actor of the time over the age of 40. As always, before we get to our review, just in case any of our listeners haven't seen the movie, we do a reasonably quick but definitely no longer 60-second summary of the movie so that you've got a broad idea of what we're talking about when we're talking about it for sequels. This is a bit of a tricky one, though, because if you've not seen this, you probably haven't seen the others, and you kind of need to know about the prior 7 films that came before this one. So I'm going to do my best to keep this as short as possible and see what happens, and I'm going to start now. The Harry Potter series follows the life of the titular wizard Harry, mainly through his years at secondary school, which happens to be a school for witches and wizards. Harry's parents were killed when he was very young by an evil wizard named Voldemort, who heard in a prophecy that Harry would be the one who would destroy him. But when Voldemort tried to kill Harry, Harry's mother's final self-sacrifice protected the baby and made the curse rebound and hit Voldemort. Once Harry starts wizarding school, it's revealed that Voldemort has returned in some form or another every year, and he spends the next 7 years trying to come back and being thwarted at every turn by a load of schoolchildren, while the adults in the room keep ignoring the problem constantly. Eventually, Voldemort actually manages to return properly and takes over the wizarding government, forcing Harry and his best friends to go on the run to try and take him down by destroying the Horcruxes, which are the magical objects that Voldemort hid pieces of his soul inside that keep him alive. Reaching the final film in the series, Harry and his friends have an exciting magical bank heist to find one Horcrux. Then they have to return to their school where the rest of the Horcruxes were hidden. There we discover that Professor Snape wasn't so bad after all, despite being a huge piece of shit for the 7 prior films. We learn that wands will change allegiance when their owner has been defeated by another person, and eventually Harry learns that he is Voldemort's final Horcrux, and that he has to allow Voldemort to kill him in order to defeat him. Harry lets Voldemort kill him, but of course doesn't actually die. This inspires everyone to do the final battle, and he eventually destroys Voldemort once and for all, and they all live happily ever after. Or do they? We'll find out in a little while.
That's mental. How have you managed to do 8 films in less time than it takes us to do most single films?
Yeah.
Fair play.
I mean,
It's impressive.
Yeah, well done. Well done.
We're lucky in that this being a part 2, it's not plot heavy. It is, They go to the bank, they go to the school, they have a big fight until they win.
Yeah.
Though it is 3 things that fundamentally happen in this without going into describing who literally every character is and their relationship to each other and why it's important that they died or didn't die. So, yeah, that was efficient. Thank you. How did we all enjoy or not enjoy this movie?
It was. I think it was a good wrap up. It was pretty good.
Good, great, Matt.
I'm going to be honest. I do have a soft spot for the Harry Potter franchise and the movies. I think we can all relate to. We are that very lucky age group that grew up alongside Harry Potter in terms of his age. So as the books came out, they were written for our age and whatnot, and the films, etc. So that was pretty special. The first few movies are a little bit meh, a little bit family friendly. And then they do get darker, I think, from the fourth movie. And I think by the time we reach Deathly Hallows Part 2, we are dealing with as good a movie as they could make, keeping it a 12A when, you know, all the characters are now adults, essentially. And there's some pretty dark shit going on. Some amazing performances, some less amazing performances. The British character actors over 40 absolutely represent in this movie, as they do throughout the franchise. And I think it's keeping the cinematic canon, not the book canon. It's as good an ending as they could possibly have hoped for.
Very good. Ross, how about you? Do you have any particularly strong connection to the books or the film series?
No, I originally bought, I think, The Goblet of Fire on hardback. Never read it, though. Never read it.
So you started on book 4.
Yeah,
Essentially, you did Star Wars and Harry Potter.
yeah.
Episode 4.
I mean, I didn't start because I never read it, so it just collected dust on my shelf. However, I am connected in the sense that when I was doing work experience, I was at Shepperton Studios, and they were filming Prisoner of Azkaban, and I saw the miniature of Hogwarts, and I was on the set of the Forbidden Forest as well, which was cool.
When they were filming Azkaban?
Well, they weren't actually filming that day, so I was
pre-production.
Yeah, so I was like part of a special effects company they were working on a car for some show where it like crashed, and I hated it. So I spent the majority of my time going, "Can I just go for a walk?" And they were like, "Yeah, go." And so I was just walking around all the different lots. Saw the Peter Sellers, you know, the Pink Panther. You know when Steve, what's his name, did the remake of like the Pink Panther. Saw them filming that, and then I stumbled across the set of Harry Potter, which was called. No, they weren't filming that day.
I didn't know that story already, but it gets more interesting because I was about to say, me and Andy have other connections to the films.
Yeah, I've totally forgot about it and then I was like, oh yeah, I did that.
That's awesome, because I was also on set for Prisoner of Azkaban, because I went to secondary school with Rupert Grint, and as a drama kid, I got to go and visit the set for Prisoner of Azkaban.
Amazing.
While that was being filmed. So we were connected.
Yeah.
Like
all those
10 years
years
before university.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was pretty cool. Used to played chess with Rupert Grint a couple of times in the library. And
nice.
Was
he used to
Wizard chess or
yeah. And he used to drive down my road. His younger brother was friends with someone who lived on the road I lived down, and so Rupert would come and pick him up sometimes in his giant bright orange Range Rover, and I'd get a little nod, and it might have been just like a polite nodding to a pedestrian who's grinning at you like an idiot, but I always liked to think that it was because he recognised me from school. So yeah, I got to go on set and sort of met Alan Rickman and Gary Oldman and saw the Shrieking Shack.
Nice.
But then, so we've kind of stepped up from seeing the miniatures to seeing the set and meeting some actors to Andy. What's your Harry Potter story?
I'm an actor in Harry Potter.
Hey.
I was lucky enough to stand in the background for a lot of scenes for the first four films.
Nice.
Yeah, mainly all Great Hall scenes and classroom scenes, and probably every other Quidditch scene. I'm somewhere in there.
So, which film do you feature most prominent? Which film do you put on to be like, hey, look, I was in Harry Potter?
Definitely the first one, because it's one of the cutest. It's it's basically when Harry's in the sorting hat and the camera goes behind him. If you basically look over his right shoulder, you can see a little 10-year-old me.
To listeners, if you can send us a picture of Andy Henry in Harry Potter, he will send you a signed photograph of himself
Oh my God,
Harry Potter.
the stamp I've got to buy to send it back is going to be worth more than my signature.
No, don't belittle yourself. This is your claim to fame.
The funny one is in the fourth film, when in Mad Eye Moody scene, I like it, when it cuts to the class. I'm basically halfway under the table because I didn't realise they said action and I was itching my ankle. So it's a good thing that they did. They cut back because you could literally see me just like kind of bolt up and be like, oh, go, act.
So we all have a bit of a connection to this series of films. In general, how do you guys like this series of films? Let's go in order again. So Andy,
I do like. I actually don't watch them as much as I kind of want to. The first couple, I think the first one anyway, is just dreadfully acted by the kids. Sorry if they're listening. I was standing behind you going, I could do better. But no, I think from the third one was Prisoner of Azkaban, wasn't it? And that was pretty dark. And I think from then on, they got just the way they were told, and it was a bit more grown up and a bit more entertaining for me. So yeah, I enjoyed all of them. And this one, I think it just wraps it up well for the size of the book, which the second one is. Yeah, they did well. I quite liked it actually. More I think about it.
Matt, how about you? The film as the series in general.
Yeah, I've got a soft spot for it. I can understand why it gets a bit of a bad rap in terms of not being authentic to the books, but as actors, we can sit here and as people who've worked in film and TV, you're never going to have the perfect adaptation. And if they were going to try and make a movie series the size of the Harry Potter books, it would have been 20 movies long. We're still probably only halfway through now. So,
well, indeed, lovely bit of trivia that the final movie in the whole series is the shortest of all 8 films at over 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah,
and it's the shortest. So it would have been outrageous if they'd tried to add in more. I would go further than you and say I think they did. They pulled out every element that they needed to tell the story overall. They jettisoned a lot of stuff that actually wasn't fundamentally necessary to the journey of these characters.
J.K. Rowling, dictator. Sorry, I was just going to say that that was the benefit of having Rowling as such a hands-on producer throughout it. She was there to ensure that was the case, and I think it shows that she had played such an active part in the production of the movies.
Ross, how about you? The film, the series in general.
In general, I'm like Andy. I thought I never went to see them at the cinema apart from when it got to the last few. I went to see them the last few at the cinema, and then I obviously caught them up on DVD or whatever. But I didn't like the performances of the kids. I think they could have picked better actors. But however, they do improve over the years. I mean, it's like anything. You do it for long enough, and you're in the industry long enough, you will improve. And Daniel Radcliffe, by the end of it, he's very, very good. And they all are really
all three. By the end, they are good actors.
And yeah, exactly. And I really like all the British actors that span the whole films. Like they've got pretty much everyone, like you said, Drew. Like they've got every single British actor, and by the end of it, yeah, it's a good finish, and the film as a whole it's a phenomenon, isn't it? It's like the British version of, well, it's like Lord of the Rings, but like even vaster than that, for kids, basically.
And more accessible.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, it does feel more relatable.
And I think that's why people like it. And it's become such a giant beast of itself.
So, what is your favourite moment of this film, and why is it Ralph Fiennes' bizarre laugh when he says that Harry is dead?
Harry
Potter is dead. How did that get through? Why?
Hey, he's having fun with his role, It's just his acting choice to just go.
Wow.
I like the last half an hour of the movie, and I also like the scene in which he talks to all of his dead people.
Yeah.
Like his mom, his dad, Sirius, and Lupin
Obi-Wan's
as well.
in there, I think, as well. Oh no, that's Star
Yeah,
Wars.
yeah. I like that, and also I also like the chat he has with Dumbledore in the sort of weird purgatory
Limbo
place.
Yeah,
with
King's
weird
Cross.
baby dead Voldemort or whatever is under the bench.
I like that. Yeah, those scenes and like the final battle scene's really good as well.
Cool.
Not the
Andy?
best.
Yeah, final battle scene was fun. I like I can't remember the spell, but the thing that once you touch it, just multiplies. And
Yeah,
they had to get-
in the bank vault.
Yeah, what's the the Hufflepuff's cup or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because just a cool scene. I was like, oh yeah, that's fun. So yeah.
Matt?
The most amazing scene for me is, first of all, Snape's death. Seeing, Harry and Snape kind of sharing that moment, but more importantly, Snape's memories. I think it's such a powerful piece of cinema because you know ultimately about the character and you followed Snape's journey, and I think just allowing that little bit of real performance from Alan Rickman, I feel, and seeing everything suddenly come together in the story, and then just that. What does Dumbledore say? All this time, and Alan Rickman's one word, always. Like, oh god, absolute tear fest at the end of that every time.
And Alan Rickman being, like, we talk about digital de-aging and stuff, Alan Rickman acting through the absolutely dreadful trying to make him look 25.
Yeah.
Like, awful, horrible. Like, he looks like a bad Madden Tussauds of himself.
You look past
But
it for the emotional level,
exactly. He, like, such a wonderful performer. And, yeah, to be able to take this character who, as I mentioned, for 7 films prior, has just been a complete dick. And to fundamentally transform. And it wasn't the books that made Snape this popular figure, this romantic figure in pop culture, with always, like, people getting tattoos of always. #always trended when Alan Rickman passed away. Because it was Alan Rickman who gave the character so much more pathos and made him
So much gravitas.
made him more than someone sort of pathetic and spiteful, and it was all down to his performance. And I hate that he's gone.
Always will. I think we can't start this conversation because it's a huge one. That when you think about reading the books and casting in your mind who did they get right, who did they not. Alan Rickman is the one that I can wholeheartedly say was nailed on.
Yeah.
From a casting
and the first
perspective.
Dumbledore.
Yeah, Richard Harris.
he was amazing.
Yeah, Richard Harris was closer in look to how I pictured Dumbledore in the books, although the soft horse voice never worked for me.
Did you not?
If
I like
Richard
that.
Harris could have had Michael Gambon's voice, then that was Dumbledore in my mind when I was a kid. So I think we've talked at quite a lot of length. We need to crack on. So let's get to our final thoughts and scores out of 5. I'm going to begin with Matt Rushton.
Ooh. Scoring this movie on its own, I am going to give it 4 dragon rides out of a bank vault out of 5. Just like, I quite liked the film. I think that there's plenty of ways it could be improved, but then I think there was also plenty of things it did very well. Visual effects are insane for the most part, apart from a young Alan Rickman. But yeah, just a solid, entertaining piece of fantasy cinema.
Cool. And Ross?
I am going to give it 3.5 not my daughter, you bitches, out of 5. Because I like it, but like Matt says, they're good. There are ways you can improve it. And it doesn't resonate too much with me. Like, I'll watch them if people put them on, but for me, it's a 3.5.
Okay. Andy?
I'm going to give it 3.5 Dobbies for the same reasons as the other guys, basically. Looking back, 10 years, whatever, it could be changed. But for what I did at the time was really good. So.
Okay. And for me, I'm going with Matt. I'm giving it 4 Neville Longbottoms in one scene having the highest kill count of any character in the series, blowing up an entire bridge full of people out of 5. Not without flaws, and as a standalone film, you couldn't conscionably give it 5 stars. But as a standalone film, incredible effects, really well shot. They shot the hell out of this film. It looks great. It looks really, really good. And good performances, a pretty strong finish. And so, yeah, there we go. That gives us a score of 3.75 out of 5. So a strong recommendation.
Yeah.
From
It's
us.
up there with Signs, so I think take that.
Yeah, tied with Signs and marginally above Labyrinth.
Are we going to
Seems
get
fitting?
Are we going to get Harry Potter fans just going, "You bastard! Why
Well,
didn't you give it 5?"
Hopefully, because that would be the most social media engagement we've had ever.
That's true. Yeah, tweet
So
us.
exactly. If you know any Harry Potter fans who you think would be really upset with this score, please let them know. So, without any further ado, the scores have been given, the chat has been had, and I think now it is time to get your sequels pitched.
Yeah.
The rules of the pitches, as always, are nice and simple. You will each have your chance to pitch me your idea for a movie without interruption, where you can explain the plot, the themes, anything you want to get across to me. Then I'll have a few questions for each of you after that. And after I've asked your questions and we've gone through everyone, we will enter the debate phase, where the 3 of you will go head to head to tell me why yours is the best in the context of the other 2. So let's get the show on the road, starting with last week's host, Andy.
Yeah.
Okay, Andy, whenever you're ready, take it away.
So we open on a magical house with magical things happening inside, washing itself, for example. Everything seems happy until we see Harry and Ginny. We establish that Harry is high up in the Ministry of Magic, and he's been working on a case recently that's been taking up most of his time. Ginny's been working as a nurse, and she's annoyed that Harry has spent most of the summer, the kids' free time, locked away at the Ministry. But they still have a very strong and loving relationship. They talk about some of Harry's cases without giving too much away to the audience. All we know is that something dark may be coming, something they haven't seen since you know who, and that's the reason why Harry's been working so hard lately. He's scared. Their tone changes as the kids enter, suddenly becoming happy and asking if Albus is excited about his 3rd year at Hogwarts. We have the scene of the parents taking the kids to platform 9 3/4, getting on the train, and it's all happy and magical and lovely. Afterwards, Harry gets called to a magical mystery scene, which is a nice way of seeing a murder scene in the Harry Potter cinematic universe. We meet a few characters that work with Harry, and they perform a spell that shows a crime scene in a sort of flashback. And if you ever played any Batman games, think of any times you had to reconstruct a scene. And if you haven't, just think of like faceless blanks interacting in the scene. That kind of gives you an idea about what happened, but obviously not the whole thing. This leads Harry to a clue that looks like a trace of a portal has recently been opened, but a spell has been put on it, hiding where it leads. They find a book on an ancient illegal dark magic and start flipping through it when the portal rips open and a few hooded figures comes out. They attack the team and killing unnecessary characters if needed, just to prove they're a threat. And one steals the book from Harry, who manages to rip a page out in the struggle. The hooded figures leave, and the team tries to open the portal but can't. Harry takes the page to the only person he knows more skilled in ancient magic than him. At Hogwarts, we see Hermione at the end of teaching a class on ancient magic. We see that both her and Harry's kids are smart by answering questions. Harry goes to see Hermione, and we establish that she's a well-respected professor at Hogwarts and second in command. She's like the new Professor McGonagall. She's still with Ron, but they're going through some rocky times, and Harry hasn't responded to either her or Ron's owl messages for a couple of months. Harry asks if Hermione knows anything about the page, and Hermione tells the story of the legend of Arasorin, a dangerous wizard who was wanted in the magical world, so tried to hide in the Muggle world. Annoyed by his forced exile, Arasorin found a way of getting between worlds undetected. He started to steal and sell dark magic to wizards and muggles living in the Muggle world, but soon the magic corrupted him, and he planned to take over the Muggle world and then return home. A group of witches and wizards tried to stop Arasorin, but died at his hand. Apparently, Arasorin had found a way to become immortal. The question is, if that's true, why is he hiding and not taking his prize? Harry asks if Hermione wants to join them in his case. She declines, quoting the teacher's rules, saying she can't leave the kids in the class, but then as soon as Harry leaves, she chases after him. Harry invites Hermione and Ron to his for dinner. As the kids play, the adults eat dinner, and we establish Ron is working in his brother's sweet shop, and he will help keep the film light as the comic relief, being a little immature and acting like a kid. And we see this is the reason why he and Hermione have a rocky marriage. The mood is happy as the four reminisce, but soon the conversation turns to Arasorin. Ron says, it reminds him of a story his mum used to read him before bed. And they all look at him like, what? But he says, but she changed a few things to make it lighter. This brings about a new clue. Harry invites Ron to join him on his case, pointing out to an agitated Hermione that without him they wouldn't have found this clue. At the Ministry, they perform a spell that shows the name of the author of the book. They all gasp in shock, and as the name reveals Parenta Dumbledore. The three say they need to find out more about this unknown Dumbledore and why she had written a book on illegal magic. They travel to Hogwarts to see if they can find any clues in Dumbledore's old office. The three get on a train to Hogwarts, and the somber tone changes as they reminisce about going to. The three get on a train to Hogwarts, and the somber tone changes as they reminisce about what it was like taking the train to Hogwarts for the first time and how they all met. This scene can either show Ron and Hermione bonding over how they hid their feelings from each other for so long, or how they're starting to second-guess their relationship. When we get to Hogwarts, they enter Headmaster McGonagall's office to see she's being killed by some hooded figures and a small goblin-looking monster. There's a fight throughout the school where the three have to kill the hooded figures while keeping the kids safe. Afterwards, they surround the goblin monster, who drops to its knees and saying his name is Servant, and it pleads for the trio to stop what you're doing. My master won't be happy. The three ask if the master is Arasorin, but all the servant says is, you don't understand what's happening. Getting in the way of my master's plan will do more damage than letting it go. Please, let the beast be. And when he sees an opportune moment, Servant fires a spell at Hermione and escapes through a portal. Pissed, Ron runs through the portal after Servant. Harry has enough time to get the injured Hermione and dive through the portal before it closes.
All right, so you didn't say the obligatory sequel pitch at the end, but that, I mean, if it's not a sequel pitch, then
it's a hell of an ending. No, this is leading on to a whole new ending. Trilogy, at least a trilogy.
All right,
Hollywood project.
So,
7 more
what
films.
is the story of that trilogy of these subsequent films?
So it's finding out who Arasorin is. If he's alive, if he's dead, why hasn't he taken his kingdom? What's going on? Is he a magical threat? Why? Why who is this new Dumbledore? Why she wrote this book? Still exploring the kind of characters' relationships.
Okay, so you don't have a clear idea of any of the answers to those questions.
I mean, yeah, I want Arasorin to be in the third one. He's going to be in a big fight. I want Parenta Dumbledore to have written this book under duress. I didn't want she was held captured or something. Servant again. I want him to be quite powerful, but he doesn't know it. He's not a house elf, but I couldn't think of really anything else. So I just called him a goblin. So yeah, I can see it's still like I'm seeing it as like a family crime thriller throughout the trilogy. Just more, asking, solving more clues and exploring the world.
All right, okay. So what are you getting at thematically with this film? Like, what inspired you to have the characters be in the places that they're in?
I just went by the story. I just thought, where would they be now? What would they be doing, and what would just be interesting? They had to.
That's the point. Where does this fall in regards to the 19 years later?
So this is 3 years after. This is the third. What's his name? Albus's third year. So this is what 3 years after the last. 2 years after, okay. Yeah, but they're still adults and stuff. So yeah, I just thought if it's Harry Potter, we need magic, we need intrigue, and that was brought on by them because they were kids going through school. So everything was new and exciting to them. So what can be new and exciting in this new trilogy is a new bad guy. I try to keep as much new things as possible by keeping the classics, the train, and Hogwarts. And I say every time, okay. I just wanted them to be in a dark place at the moment because I wanted my pitch to get across. Every time they're happy is basically when they're reminiscing.
Okay, all right, I like that. Just out of curiosity, the name Arasorin, where did you just come up with that? Because it sounded cool, or is it from something?
It's from a wizard name generator.
Fucking
Good.
hell.
Okay, good. Lots of thought gone into that.
I
Excellent.
did. I thought of loads, but nothing that made.
I did. I thought really hard about which name generator to use.
And I picked the first one Google gave me.
You
Yeah,
are
I mean,
in
I thought
so
of other
much
things,
trouble.
but no, nothing sounded. I needed a good sounding name, and for a while I wanted to start with like a Z because that's always good, and if it can end in an X, that'd be kind of cool. But no, I was like, there's programs that do this for me, so fuck it.
Okay, fair enough. Lastly, would there be anything? So, you have the film does feel a bit slight. It doesn't feel like there's a huge. It feels to me like the first episode of the HBO Max Harry Potter TV show, rather than the first in a new series of Harry Potter films. What could you do at the beginning of the movie to show the growing new threat? Because it feels like Harry and Ginny have a bit of a chat, and then he goes to a crime scene.
Ideally, I wanted more clues. I wanted Harry to just have like an inkling, basically, of something weird's going on. It was going to start. He was going to find some bodies that were like drained, basically, visually drained. But I wanted to say they've been like drained of not only their life but their magic. I wanted him to obviously find a few of these, which led on to more clues and stuff like that. And then it was the end of Act 1 was going to be the portal ripping open and then finding the book. And that was going to be like the call to action was I've got to find out what this page is. And so yeah, we could put more like crime in at the start, or more crime scenes.
More crime. Excellent. We all need a bit more crime. Okay, thank you very much, Andy. I'm going to move quickly on to Ross Harmston.
Hello.
Hello. Whenever you're ready. Andy, that's the point. I was waiting for you to say. Did you say we get the titles and the film is called?
No, actually, the title comes before. It comes in like, you know how Harry Potter normally does. It comes in like the clouds or something.
And so, what is the title of yours?
Oh, sorry, sorry. Oh, sorry. It was The Legend of Arasorin. Sorry, I didn't even say it, did I?
That's right. That's the thing. I couldn't when I'm editing.
Yeah.
We will. If you did, then I'll take this.
If not, here's a clean version.
I'll leave it in.
The Legend of Arasorin.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, so moving on to Ross Harmston. Whenever you're ready, sir. Thank you very much.
My title is Harry Potter and the Shadow of the Serpent. Just remember that I've gone before Matt, and I did my pitch before
You're
Matt.
kidding.
So just keep that in mind. Anyway, the film opens and we see a familiar sight of Azkaban. The camera pans all the way through the prison, allowing us to see elements of the prison we haven't seen before. We focus on a cell. Inside is very dark and very dark and bare. We see a man with long white hair and a beard muttering to himself. We hear the words Harry Potter and revenge. He is very erratic. He looks up at the screen and we see it's Lucius Malfoy. Oh, shit. We then cut to the Ministry of Magic, and we see a door with the name Harry Potter written on it, and underneath it says Minister of Magic. We see Harry Potter, much older now, in his 40s, bogged down by work. He gets a visit in his office by Ron, who we establish is also working at the Ministry of Magic. Ron places down some pictures of dead agents of the Ministry of Magic, and we see a black serpent etched on their body. We learn through dialogue that although most Death Eaters were caught after the Second Wizarding War, some are still at large and are calling themselves the Serpents, but their true intent is still unknown. Cut back to Azkaban, and Lucius is having food in his cell. He keeps looking out of the window to the rainy, stormy seas outside. The auras, or whoever they're called, who have now replaced the Dementors, start to talk to him. We learn that he sacrificed himself to go to prison so that his son and wife could be free. The guard also jokes that no one's coming to save you this time, Malfoy. He laughs and leaves. Cut back to Harry's life, and we see him and Ginny at home. Sorry. Cut back to Harry's life, and we see him at home with Ginny, talking about the pressures that he's having under at work, not only with the new group called the Serpents, but also the pressures of keeping the wizarding world a secret from the Muggles. We establish that the kids are still at Hogwarts at the moment. Cut to Ron talking to Hermione through a magic spell-like Skype thing. And we learn that Hermione is now a teacher at Hogwarts, and their kids are, okay, misbehaving, but they're okay. Cut back to Azkaban, and we see Lucius is in his cell, hearing a commotion going on in and outside of the prison. Then all of a sudden his door opens, and we see Umbridge standing there. We learn that she is the leader of the Serpents, and she's been leading them from the inside of Azkaban. And then we see them freeing all the prisoners and killing the guards and escaping. Once out, Umbridge tells Lucius that he should join with the Serpents and put an end to Harry Potter. But he tells her that he has one thing to do first. So he travels to see his wife. But before he says, hey, he sees she's with another man. No. And then he goes and leaves upset. He then travels to see Draco in London. And we have a heart-wrenching scene in which Draco tells him that he doesn't want to see him and that he is no father of his. Lucius has nothing now. He's a prisoner on the run, no wife, no son. The only time he was something was when he was with Voldemort, even though he treated him like shit. He's been conditioned much like a prisoner and their captive. He knows about the Deathly Hallows, though. The 3 items that if you attain, you are master of death. Perhaps this may bring back the Dark Lord himself. Cut to Harry learning about the breakout. He visited Azkaban and sees all the death and destruction. He learns it's the doing of the Serpents and that both Umbridge and Lucius have also escaped. He tells them to put out wanted posters everywhere and that he wants them caught. He visits Draco and asks him if he's seen his father. However, Draco denies seeing him. Maybe there's a little love in his heart for his father still. Lucius meets Umbridge, tells her that he is dedicated to the cause. We see that Umbridge just wants Harry Potter dead, and Lucius sees this as a moment to tell her that the Dark Lord is the most powerful wizard and can kill Harry Potter. But all they need to do is bring him back. All they need to do to bring him back is use the Deathly Hallows. Umbridge secretly thinks that she can use Lucius to attain the items to become Master of Death herself and agrees. They learn the first item is the invisible cloak thing and that it's at Hogwarts. So they all travel to Hogwarts and this is the final fight of the movie. They wreck the place, kill loads of people, adults, and injure some kids because, we don't want to kill kids. Hermione has a cool badass moment but is knocked out. They learn that James Potter, Harry Potter's son, was given the cloak and they go to his room. He tries to defend himself but is killed by Umbridge. They leave and all the main gang learn of the attack and come to check on the kids. There's a touching scene in where Harry Potter cradles the dead child but looks hella angry. End of the movie, setting up a new trilogy. And just hold on 1 second because I added something but I didn't put it on my actual one that I'm reading it from. Sorry.
Can we put on WhatsApp?
No, I put it on my... Oh, God. Sorry, Drew.
I've got it open. Do you want me to put it in the WhatsApp?
No. It's cool. I got it. Sorry, I did edit it on the actual document. The second and third film are about the Serpents trying to attain the last 2 items. One is the Resurrection Stone, which is in the Forbidden Forest, and it's been taken by the Centaurs. The last piece is the Elder Wand, which was retrieved by Harry Potter after he broke it in 2 and has been placed in the Ministry of Magic. The Serpent's goal is to somehow mend the broken wand in order to use it again. The gang have to deal with Harry's loss and come together to fight this foe. Eventually, Draco has to kill his dad. I want that to be like the big thing at the end of the movies. But yeah, that's it.
Okay. All right. Yeah, interesting that you go, we don't want to kill any kids, and then you immediately kill a kid.
Yeah,
or Harry's.
That's true.
That's pretty dark, bro. For the first new film in this Harry Potter.
But I see that the most popular ones of the series were the later ones, which are darker. And I don't think that I think that my is steering towards an older like clientele, not like a 15, 18, but you've got certain things that people love, like in Endgame and Avengers, where yes, you don't see it, but like Thanos getting his head cut off by Thor and stuff like that. So like, yeah, it is a bit darker. There are elements of I think that it's a dark world like now. Yeah.
Okay. Here's a question for you. So, again, in relation to the 19 years later, when is this for you?
Mm-hmm. When is it? Oh, it's
in relation to 19 years later.
So it's well, whenever I go by whatever the film said it was. So I think it's about 2017 now or 2018 in the where it's basically
No. So is this 19 years later?
Yes, yeah.
And so it's basically exactly from the end of film 8, and then it just carries on from this moment in time.
No. So we jump ahead. So we jump ahead to where Harry Potter's now about 40. So this is not directly straight after. I see the train scene as maybe possibly in between, like it was a further bit, maybe just before my movie. That like bit where they're adults. Do you know what I mean?
That's what I mean.
Oh, okay, yeah. So yeah, around then, yeah.
Okay.
So sorry, yeah.
That's all right. In that case, then, would you bring back the original 3 Harry Potter actors?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
I would. I think that you can believe that they may be for, like, you know, you can put some makeup on them to make them look a bit older.
Wouldn't be quite as difficult as when they were
in their early
20s.
So. Yeah.
Okay. I love Jason Isaacs. Jason Isaacs is an absolute treasure, and he should be working all the time. So I'm very, very glad that he's got quite a meaty role in this film. But it almost feels like it's his movie. Like the big central emotional journey in the middle of this film is his rather than Harry's. Why do you think you did that?
I use this movie to set up his sort of motivation and the future for the second and third film. The second and third film are going to be dealing a lot more with Harry Potter and his loss and the loss of his child. And, maybe in this movie I can put more scenes in which Harry Potter is at the Ministry. But yeah, I think to do a good trilogy, you need a good baddie and you need a good origin story for that, and I want to focus on that.
Okay, I quite like that you have the sympathetic baddie who's kind of been tortured and forced into it, but you've also got Umbridge, who is just historically the most seethingly hateable character in the entire series. So I appreciate her coming back. It's also quite. I don't know if you did this on purpose, but having Helen McCrory very recently passed away, and so being unable to come back and play Lucius's wife, I think hopefully it might be just a nice little tribute to have her appear in the distance and not be in the film.
And I want that moment to be like that she's really happy, she's laughing, like he sees her through a window, like, and that she's with someone else.
Does Lucius... Okay, here's a deep lore question, Lore.
Yes.
Does Lucius end up in Azkaban after the final film?
No. I changed that a little bit.
Okay.
He sells out a load of the Death Eaters. He says to the Ministry of Magic, he says, I'll give you the location of the Death Eaters, and then he manages to evade Azkaban. But I wanted to go, okay, I want that, but I also want I feel that it would be better in my story if he went to Azkaban, but like he saved his kids and he saved his kid and wife from going.
Okay. All right, cool. Thank you very much, Ross.
You're welcome.
Matt, we are going to move speedily on to you whenever you're ready.
Okie dokie. So, taking Ross's title aside, this is my own very independent and completely different pitch, thankfully, to Ross's. My title is The Serpent's Fangs, a Harry Potter story. The movie Oh, sorry, I got too excited. The movie opens...
No, go for it.
The movie opens with a black screen. Golden sparks appear from the centre of the screen, and we hear the click of a lock. As the camera pulls out of the keyhole and sees a wooden door pry open, there's a hooded figure with their face covered stood there. We see the hooded figure kill 2 anonymous adults with a Avada Kedavra and leaves a teenager sat there alive, and there's a gust of wind that kind of blows through and blows the hood off. When he's dehooded, it's Harry Potter. The figure Harry Potter says, "Tell everyone what you saw today. You tell them the serpent is risen." And he leaves. The cloak flicks past the camera and it creates a seamless transition to the title. Cut to the Ministry. Hermione and Ron are saying goodbye as they're about to head to their respective workplaces. Everyone's staring at them though. They are suddenly bound by magical rope and dragged into a lift and taken down into the courtroom that we see in one of the previous Harry Potters. In front of them is a panel of ministry folk and a judge, who clears his throat and orders them to inform the ministry where Harry is currently hidden, where his whereabouts. Neither of them know. In walks Draco Malfoy, looking sharp, pretty menacing, and wielding a bladed wand. He makes his way directly to Ron and takes him into a side room. Hermione begins to panic. Malfoy is known around the ministry as a man who gets answers. She begins pleading with the judge that they know nothing. "We'll soon find out, won't we?" is the reply. In the other room, Draco very much looks like he's about to start torturing Ron, but stops short of doing anything and says that he will help to sort this mess out. Malfoy explains that with all the talk of Harry Potter in fact being controlled by Voldemort, the Death Eaters have begun to rally again, and he and his family are now in danger as they were seen as deserters and traitors. Big Magic Scene 1. They break out and free Hermione. Cool chase through the ministry and out through the Floo system. They arrive at Malfoy Manor, or at least what it looks like as Malfoy Manor, only it's on an island. There's a little homage to Helen McCrory, Narciso and Lucius probably there. There's some witty one-liners from Lucius. They don't really play a big part in it. Draco explains how they packed everything up and moved in fear. Draco introduces his wife, Astoria, a sickly, frail, yet striking-looking woman. Ron remarks how her and Ginny were best of mates at Hogwarts, still very much untrusting them. Astoria acknowledges that she may have been a little childish in her school days, but life is more precious now. She then asks about Ginny, and Ron and Hermione explain that she's missing along with Harry. The four ultimately go hunting for signs of the couple's whereabouts, but to no avail. One night, however, they're all sat to dinner. The room is suddenly enveloped in like an unseeable black smoke, and there's the unmistakable voices of Harry and Ginny. They're heard saying, "Don't make us kill you, not after everything we've been through." And just like that, the black smoke's gone, and so are Harry and Ginny. Thankfully, but kinda not, Astoria has an ancient family blood curse which will ultimately kill her soon, but it gives her the strange ability to follow a wizard's disapparate path for a short time. There's an emotional moment where Draco's really upset and clearly touched by the talk of the fact that his wife's going to die young. She comforts him. Ron and Hermione are sat watching this and they share some genuine sympathy as they see this deep love that Draco has for Astoria, similar to their own. The four then follow Harry and Ginny and they arrive at a ruin on the Welsh border, and in they go. Sorry, clearing my throat. No, I'm changing that. Aha. Change that. I'll get back to it. Big Magic Scene 2, a wizardy battle where the four fight Harry and Ginny. Only it's obviously not them. They managed to use a magical spell to reveal the true identity of the individuals. They're two like white, pale, blonde twins, and as soon as their identity is revealed, they escape. And we then finally discover the actual Harry and actual Ginny and a toddler in swaddling. Both of the adults are trapped with magical binds, but they're freed obviously pretty quickly. They go and have a chat, loads of exposition, they recover, and they leave baby Potter with Nana and Grandpa Weasley. Harry knows who the twins are because of his job as an Auror. These were his last assignment, and they are known only as the Gaunts. But he underestimated them, and he got caught. The twins would often speak parcel tongue around him, and he learnt that their great aunt was in fact Tom Riddle's mother. There's a note here, there's quite a lot of family tree exposition stuff's going to need explaining. The final act is basically Harry, Ginny, and the other heroes all hunting down the Gaunts, who turns out they've mastered the Polyjuice Potion. Story about how Ginny got caught thinking it was Harry, etc. And they trace them back to the Riddle family vault seen in the Goblet